Orchestra, Wimborne's Gator, Reverend 2 on the hour.
As the carnival grows, it adds new and exciting attractions. We've got a new ride to explore this week, and I guarantee it will be terrific. It's just this way. At the Dim
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dim Carnival. I'm Bill.
And I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
This is a podcast where we chronologically, anthropologically, schizofrantically go through the music of the Insane Clown Posse from the beginning to wherever it is we can't stand doing this podcast anymore. And as you all received your assignment last week, this week we're listening to the second sideshow album, The Terror Wheel, which is an EP that came out between Ringmaster and Riddlebox. And I had high hopes going into this one because of how surprisingly good the first sideshow album, Beverly Kills 50187, was, and how good Ringmaster was, and how good we know Riddlebox is. And boy, was I let down.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, Steve, you texted us since the last podcast we recorded, and you basically just like roasted this EP, and you're like, I hated it.
Yeah. I've explained over time how I've had this big, long ICP playlist on an iPod, and I had a bunch of songs, and a lot of these songs were on it, and these were songs even on the stupid playlist that I skipped. But I listened to them for this.
Good. Well, that's good, because otherwise we wouldn't have a podcast. But we're going to start with Dead Body Man.
Wait. I got something to say.
Ryan's got some knowledge.
You guys, I really like this record.
Good for you.
I mean, it's not bad. It's just I was expecting something more or something different. Did you enjoy listening to this more than you enjoy listening to Ringmaster?
No.
Okay.
I guess as we go through it, you're probably going to hear me say amazing things about it. But I think, as an overall arching album, it's not in the bell curve for the good albums. If you were
Steve, you would say that on Terror Wheel, the sum of its parts is greater than the whole.
Yes.
Like if you single out moments of it, it's fine. But if you put it together as a whole work, it's lacking.
Yes. I just feel like it was extended versions of stuff they were already doing.
Yeah, that's a pretty good take.
Especially when they were 7 minutes long.
Yeah, it's almost like it's an extended play.
It does have the Ringmaster logo in the bottom of the actual CD cover. So, I mean, I guess I shouldn't judge it that much when I see that on there, But
yeah, because Tunnel of Love will have the silhouette of the Riddlebox on the cover, and that's how the sideshow albums will be
twice
iconographized. Yeah, that's
otherwise
let's go with that. Yes. So this album came out in 1994. It starts off with a song that we will cover again when we go into Riddlebox, but it's a little bit different. But it's Dead Body Man. From this intro, we get the Ringmaster voice introducing the concept of the Terror Wheel. There is, based on the bed of sound and the voices and the acting and the sound library that they're using here, there is a fucking gang of people at the Terror Wheel. There is like an arena full of people listening to the Ringmaster talk about the Terror Wheel.
Yeah, there's a whole crowd.
Can I ask, is this the first time he refers to himself in that voice as Willoughby Rags?
Yes, because it hasn't happened before.
I didn't think so.
I thought the ringmaster started and was like, welcome to the terror wheel. And he's like, oh, look, see, there's somebody that's getting on the ride now. And then they strap the guy in, and then the ride starts. And the person who speaks to you while you're on the ride is Willoughby Rags. Is that not what we're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Well, let's talk about, so what do you guys imagine that the terror wheel is? Like, so a lot of the sideshow attractions, and this song is not about the terror wheel. The song's about the dead body man.
First stop on the terror wheel.
So what do you imagine the terror wheel to be? Because this is the rare instance from like Riddlebox era on, they will get very specific about what the attractions are and what they look like and what they do. But the terror wheel doesn't get such a description.
I interpret it as the terror wheel is the name of this particular carnival coming through this town.
Okay.
So I picture the terror wheel as, like, you know the contraption that Arnold Schwarzenegger gets put in The Running Man?
Yes.
So it's like a pod with a cage, and they stick you in it, and it launches you down these tubes. And while you're in the middle of the tubes, you're getting these messages of, like, you know, it's Shaggy Two Dope that's talking to you or whatever. Will it be Rags? But it's really, you're not wrong that it's only tenuously held together as an idea by having the same character speak to you in between each song. But he's not really telling you about anything that's happening, and there's no connection between any of the rooms or anything like that. No, like, extended narrative.
Oh, I was just kind of interpreting it like a Christian hell house, where you go in and someone is telling you, here's a fucked up thing. Aren't you scared? Now, come over here. Here's a fucked up thing. And maybe that's circular, where you come in at the beginning and come out at, you know, and the exit is next to the entrance door. So I can see it as being in circular like that. But I pictured it more as like you're going to each display that's scaring the shit out of you to make you a better person.
Yeah. And the video, the cover of the EP is a dude who's like grimacing, and like the photo's being stretched, so it looks like he's sort of being, you know, twisted.
I thought he was in the lake of fire.
I don't know. I kind of hate to ruin your guys' individual understandings and concepts, but I don't think this is going to ruin it for you, so I'm just going to push ahead. This is what it says in the original liner notes of the Terror Wheel EP. Okay? The Terror Wheel is a popular carnival attraction among the dead. Dead bodies come from across the world to strap into the spinning, whipping wheel of agony. The wheel never stops. It just keeps spinning and spinning until your body's limbs tear off one by one, eventually separating your carcass from your seat. Dead people surely love this amusing ride, but as long as the line for the terror wheel may be, and despite the many stiffs that would love a chance to ride the wheel, we always have saved a seat for you and your loved ones. Enjoy your life now while you can, for when you die, you belong to us. You belong to the terror wheel. Bizarre. So that's what the terror wheel is, according to the liner notes of the terror wheel.
I think that they're mistaken on what they're trying to make you think about that.
Yes. I
still think that's more esoteric than what they're even thinking it is.
Yeah, for sure. But I just like the concept of a wheel that never stops spinning, that has a long line. And I also love the concept of, like, dead people absolutely love this ride. And so for, like, the dead, like, they're like, oh, fuck yeah, we gotta ride the terror wheel. But for anyone who's not dead, who's being punished by the terror wheel, they're like, oh, no, I don't want to go on this at all. But they have to. Also, the liner notes specifically say we've saved a seat for you and your loved ones, not necessarily, like, the unjust or, like, the rich, or it's just you, the reader.
Right. No, this is something that everyone has to do. Everyone has to do it.
The terror wheel begins with the ringmaster welcoming people to get strapped into the terror wheel.
I ate a dead body, but don't tell. I lied. I just ate my first dead body last week. Still got the fingernail caught in my or something's wrong with my brain. Insane. Second, I was born.
And then we go into the Dead Body Man, which has absolutely nothing to do with the terror.
Which is like even a revisit of the song with the wagons, where he's like collecting dead bodies, but instead of a wagon, it's a car.
Well, not exactly. So the first thing I wanted to point out was there is a Carnival of Carnage callback with the line, "I ate a dead body, but don't tell I lied."
Yes.
It's an exact line from Carnival of Carnage. So he's the dead body. The narrator of this song is the Dead Body Man. And I have some serious questions about this because he finds dead bodies, and there's dead bodies all over the street, like 65 bodies at least. But he also just drives around with dead bodies in the back of his car, and people also know him by reputation well enough to try and catch a glimpse of him. And also he wants people to sell dead bodies to him.
Or melt to him.
I have my question to you two is, what is the Dead Body Man?
What? Are you kidding me? He's not a Martian, I can tell you that much. Listen, you wouldn't understand. He's just a dead body man.
So does he find them? Like,
well, when
he says it in the lyrics. He finds the dead bodies.
I know. No, he says he's always finding bodies when he's mowing the lawn. Yep. Always.
Yeah, can't mow a lawn. Can't push a mower 2 feet without hitting a dead body in his house.
So is this guy's, like, mutant power that he, like, attracts dead bodies to him? Like Magneto, like, not being able to control, like, his magnetism? Like, dead bodies are just drawn to him? Or is he a collector? Like, obviously he's a collector.
Yeah, he's a collector. He wants these bodies. Everybody knows who he is, and they bring him the bodies.
Okay, so in the interlude, Shaggy Two Dope is hawking the dead bodies. Like, come one, come all, we got bodies. Mm-hmm. So the Dead Body Man who wants you to sell him the dead bodies and finds the bodies everywhere also sells them?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, think about it like a jeweler.
Okay.
You can take your gold, and you can take your coins, and you can take your ring, and then sometimes if they're good enough, they'll resell them.
Okay, fair enough.
And you're assuming Violent J is the only dead body man.
I mean, he might not be the only dead body man, but he's the one in this neighborhood.
And that's why someone might come to his neighborhood to buy one.
There's also no definitive proof that the narrator of this song is Violent J.
Yeah, I have that in my notes.
Okay. Good.
I have that in another song too.
So the other question I had in my notes was, how does this fit in with the intro? Because the intro that we will talk about on Riddlebox, which we should not talk about now, will sort of explain a lot better the concept of the Dead Body Man as an intro. So in both of your minds, this episode of A Dead Body Man is just the first stop on the terror wheel of something that the Dark Carnival is showing to you.
Exactly. Like I said, the Christian Hell House.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. As I mentioned before, my favorite way to listen to these songs is in my garage on YouTube. And so I put this record on, and so I don't have a track list in front of me. I just want to listen to the record. And the intro goes through, and I'm like, okay, we're going on our first stop, Dead Body Man. And I did not remember at all that this song was even on this record, and it felt like slipping into a warm bath. Like, I realized listening to this record, because there's little hints of where they're almost at for Riddlebox, obviously, like in the progression of their story or whatever, but there's elements about it that felt so familiar. I had these intense sense memories because this was the first record, we're getting towards the first record that I listened to from ICP. And so I'm just letting you guys know that, like, I have not listened to Riddlebox in more than 10 years, and I cannot wait to listen to it. And I think that really made me keyed up for listening to this record.
Yeah, to me the refrain or the hook of Dead Body Man, the "Call Me the Dead Body Man," that thing, like, that is basically synonymous with Riddlebox to me. Like, that refrain is like one of the most, like, that conjures up the feeling of Riddlebox to me. Just that cadence and that hook. And the hook is almost as good as the hook in The Smog is bad. But we'll get there.
I was just kind of was like going back to a point we were making about when Shaggy is hawking bodies, and you're like, so they're buying bodies and they're selling bodies, and I made them like and I made the joke about jewelers. There is a line where Shaggy is saying, we have some bodies and we have no body. And I love that line because he's making distinction as like, they have some corpses of people that we know, and they have the rest of us. And I just think that kind of reinforces the idea that, yeah, they're hawking these bodies, because if someone was buying bodies, they would want to buy a body of someone that is a somebody.
Yes. And I love that too. And I'm glad that they made this song when they did, because I think if they had made this song like 4 or 5 years later, they would have like specifically called out which bodies of dead celebrities they have.
Yes, I'm sure they would have.
Shaggy Tune Up would have been like, we got Nicole Smith! we got Liberace!
So the song contains some of my favorite imagery, like of any ICP song. And it makes me think of, I don't know if this is embarrassing even to admit, but like Spawn comics, like Violator or whatever, the clown guy from Spawn.
Violator.
And why would you be embarrassed of that?
I don't know. Maybe Bill understands why I might be embarrassed by that.
Well, Spawn comics are probably the only thing more embarrassing than ICP, but we're already doing an ICP podcast. So.
Right. But yeah, this like really grimy, it's obviously Violent J, and is like grimy with his belly hanging out the bottom of his shirt, and driving this scuzzy ice cream truck around town, and it's got all the dead bodies in the back. Like, it's a mostly serious song, but then at the end, he does his like normal thing where he kind of gets silly with it and starts like, freestyling of different ways that you can send him dead bodies. He'll take them any way that he can get them.
You can mail them to me.
Right, yeah, just bring them to me. Like, so, yeah, he loves it any way that he can get it. But the other thing that I really like is he's talking about dead bodies and different things that he likes to do with dead bodies. And then again, he confronts the listener, as he has in earlier songs, and says, oh, if you don't like what I'm doing, but people hunt and hang carcasses all over their houses as trophies, which he likens to being grotesque and bad, and that people carry around Lucky Rabbit's foot keychain. He says, on your keychain is a little baby rabbit's hand. I'm just a dead body man. So he's like, don't tell me that what I'm doing is like wrong or bad. You're responsible for suffering and killing also.
And my thing is, having a rabbit's paw on your keychain as an excuse to kill or collect dead human bodies is absurd.
So you're saying that Violent J is drawing a false equivalency?
Yes.
I see.
Don't make me think this hard the rest of the thing, please.
We both think that he's creating an equivalency, so at least we agree on that much.
Yes. he's clearly making an analogy. Ryan, final point about the dead body man.
No, man, I'm ready to move on. You're right.
This song's great. Ryan, what?
Yeah, that's what I said. The song's great, man. I fucking love Dead Body Man.
All right, track 2. It is Skitsofrantic.
I better just chill, bitch, get real. I know you're trying to poison my meal. I know the deal. You want me dead so that you can get paid. I ain't got a dime, so don't waste your time. I gotta kill them. Or they...
I have very few notes on this song, but my first note was tremendous back and forth with Jay and Shaggy.
Yeah, I agree. I think they did a great job passing the mic.
This song is clearly about mental illness and hallucinations and paranoia. We've talked before about how in the first 2 albums they invoke the words schizoprantic, psycho-schizo, schizo-psychotic. They basically mash up schizo and psycho and frantic into all sorts of different permutations. But here they give us a taste of what they've been talking about this whole time.
So what I feel like about Skitsofrantic is, well, first of all, the obvious thing, and I feel like there should be a subtitle to this album, which is choruses are bad. That every song has the worst chorus of any song that I've ever heard. And so this song starts with the chorus. It sets the bar very low for the track because it's horrendous to listen to.
It puts the bar right on the ground.
right. And then the verses start, and the lyrics are not super.
The flow in delivery is much better than the lyrical content of the song.
But this is one of those ICP songs that if you're not like really listening to it with an attentive ear, is completely enjoyable. Like,
for sure,
it's totally fun to listen to if you're not trying to piece out if they're trying to make a point.
If you're not, for example, trying to make podcast content out of this song.
Right. Like, who's Mark Krem? Do I need to Google that guy? Is that worth talking about? Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. And then the chorus it beats you down each time, but I feel like each verse kind of brings you back. It brings you back. It brings you back. And then lo and behold, the greatest thing happens. Violent J starts going crazy and going wow wow chicka wow wow in the background along with the horrible chorus, and it's incredible, and I bounce around in my seat when I hear it because it fucking lights up my day, man. And they should have done that from the very beginning,
So I have a few lyrics. I have a few notes for this song. How dare you? And I'm not a big fan of the song either. It had funny lines to me, and I went. A lot of it had to do with the back and forth, like you said, passing the mic, and they were just like stupid rhymes that I thought were funny. Where all of a sudden there's like, "How do you know you're legit, bitch?" It's just silly things like that kind of stood out to me. But yeah, overall, it was just funny, like you said, the different types of scenarios that are set up by these voices and blowing up their neighbor's house and things like that. So I mean, as a song to listen to, it's not my favorite song music wise, but there are things in it throughout it that make me laugh, guffaw, chuckle. But then the next song's called "The Smog."
Yeah, it sure is. So the Smog explains what's happening in Skitsofrantic, why this mental illness and why these hallucinations are existing. The Smog. And one of my first notes is the song for sure needs to be 8 minutes long.
Yes.
There's no way to deliver this concept in under 8 minutes.
It's true. It's really sad that it had to be that long.
But this song is still doing that thing on the sideshow EPs where some of the songs are actually 2 songs. Yes. And I made a very special note here that says the second song is barely a song and is garbage. Also, I made a note of this lyric, "Lord, oh please, what's happening to me? It's the poisonous air from the smokestacks, G."
So the Smog, I feel like it takes a minute to get going. So it starts off real bad, like what you're talking about right there. When Shaggy says, "Pull out an ice pick and pick the bitch up, smacking it, pushing it in my ear, fuck." Like, it's a little clunky, my man. But I feel like it gets going, like later on in the verse. That starts the beginning, but in the middle and the end, I think he's doing okay.
Yeah, like when he gets to the part where he says, "I lay still and hope it doesn't notice me. Oh shit, fuck, shit, G." Looking up just to see his deadly jaws. I think I shit my draws.
Yeah, okay, well that's Violent J.
I was gonna say that was Violent J. Yeah.
But so I agree with you that the lyrics are kind of weak at the beginning, especially in Shaggy's verse. But I do feel like he gets a little bit stronger with them as the verse goes on. But by the time it gets to Violent J, I think it's actually really good. And I like one part specifically when he compares the smog, like he sees the smog on the horizon or whatever rolling in, and then he says that it forms a devil's face that is a mirror image of the human race. Like he's saying that it's America, like, that has created this smog because it's a byproduct of some process, that America needs, and it's going to like destroy him and kill his neighborhood, and it's America's fault that this is happening.
Yeah, and on Thanksgiving, you eat the turkey.
Right, just like, there you go. That's a Raz Kaz reference.
It's a Raz Kaz shout out.
I can't. I don't have it in front of me, but somebody tweeted at the Dim Carnival that they appreciated the AC Alone reference from. But
anyway,
so then right after that line, right after that, the music stops and Violent J's delivery completely changes, and he does this kind of like spooky, like he's whispering or trying to like hide in the corner, and I thought that part was really fun.
I mean, it's not all bad. It's just, it's long, and, like, as you pointed out, it's long and it takes a minute to get going, and then it stops and becomes another song that's just, like, not a song at all.
Yeah. I'm gonna, you're absolutely right, Bill. But I also agree with Ryan that, there's some stuff that really stands out to me in the verses of the Smog, and literally in my notes, all I have for the Smog is I have the title, and then I have a little arrow that says, like the actual verses of this song, then it gets really weird. That's all the notes I wrote. However, I listened to this song a ton of times because I kept waking up hearing it in my head, and it was driving me nuts. So, of course, listening to it more.
Skitsofrantic?
It was maybe. And there was imagery in the beginning, and this is not the song so much as me just hearing the song and projecting stuff from my childhood. And then that turns into a Simpsons joke later on in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so at first the Smog to me seemed like there was a movie called, I think it was called Scanners. That might be the blowing up one, but the head blowing up. But there was a movie from the 80s, and there's this smog, and it would turn people inside out if it hit you. And I remember just seeing in the newspaper, because like in the living section was where the comics were, the week or the daily comics, and then the next page would have the movie posters and stuff, and when they were really advertising movies a lot in the newspaper, so I'm talking 80s, and I remember maybe it's called Screamers, that might be it, and the Smog would make, and there was this picture, the poster was just this dude inside out wearing jeans, no t-shirt, and I just remember being like traumatized. So when I first heard the Smog in this, I thought that, and then it made me think Simpsons in one of the Treehouse of Horror, one of the ends where Smog comes in the window and they all like turn inside out and then do like a Broadway number. And so it's like an homage to that 80s film. So all these things came to me when I first started listening to the Smog. Obviously, that's not how people die in the Smog in the song, which was a little disappointing to me. But then when I took the song for just what it was, I really liked it, and how they die. And the Violent J one cracks me up. Like, he goes running out, and he doesn't even get hurt by the Smog. He slips in oil and breaks his neck, and then is laying there paralyzed, waiting for the Smog to come. And then the Smog decides to pass over him for whatever reason, and he's all super happy, and then it all turns into rocks and falls from the sky and crushes him, and he still dies. I loved that. I thought that was a great story. It was hilarious to me. It was funny. I thought it was well put together. That's like the last part of the song. And then it goes into the kids with the Smog is coming chant for a little bit, and then it stops and turns, like you guys said, into a completely different song about thoughts of a clown, and then him, and I tried to listen to what he was saying as the music's playing monotonously, and he starts like talking, and he's not rapping, he's talking, and I turned it up really loud. I used different headphones. I can't understand anything he's saying, and then I kind of refused to look it up and see if there was lyrics to see what he was saying, because it was just not interesting enough to make me want to do that, and I apologize to him as an artist, but I just didn't want to do it. But he's saying something in there, and it sounds important.
Well, it's all just like a stream of consciousness. Like, he's just saying random things that pop into his brain. Like, they're not connected by anything, right? There's not some higher meaning.
Probably not. It's just, I kind of want to know what he's saying. It's Violent J.
Well, it's kind of like, there's a couple of songs that it made me think of. The first one is How Many Times, where he's just like naming different kinds of scenarios or whatever, things that annoy him. And this is maybe just like things that he thinks about or things that are interesting. But the one that it really made me think of is the Dead one, from Ringmaster, where, when he's like, I'm hearing whispers on the wind. They're telling me I'm dead. I'm sorry, but you're dead, or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
it was. But they did, which I love the Dead one. Like, I think that's a rad song. I think
It is.
And so I feel like this one just kind of falls in the middle between those two, and is just not either one of those. It would be much better if it was one or the Uncanny Valley. For those things.
Yeah. So we're all in agreement.
The song's called The Smog.
I like the Smog. I think they should have axed Thoughts in My Head, or maybe save those things for ideas for other songs or whatever.
They also should have axed the awful, fucking atrocious opening chorus.
Yeah, again, the chorus, bad.
Also, so this is some crazy Mandela effect shit for you, Steve, but there's no actual movie with a fog that turns people inside out that is just a Simpsons thing. But there is a movie. Okay, this is where it gets really crazy. There is a movie called Screamers. It's a horror movie. It's the Screamers version of this movie is an American dub of an Italian horror film called Island of the Fishmen. For the movie Screamers, to lure people into the theater, they filmed a special scene of a man getting turned inside out, which was meant to just get people into the theater to see Screamers. But when people went to see the movie, that scene's not actually in the movie. So people complained, and they spliced that scene into the movie, but it has never appeared on any home video release.
That is amazing. I am so happy you shared that. That is so funny. I love that I believed something so adamantly.
Yeah.
And it was wrong.
This is specifically what the Mandela effect is.
Huh?
But no part of what you said was wrong.
Right. No, you got it right.
Like, there's nothing about what you said that was incorrect. So yeah, you're right. The next song is called Out.
My little brother starving, hungry and sick, cause ain't nobody coming by the house giving free shit. So we getting kinda skinny and my brother's almost dead. Got no other choice but for milk and bread. Stepped out the house for the first time in 2 years, cause my neighbor.
And it's about Violent J and Shaggy coming out. So my question about this song, or questions about this song. So the narrator of Out, this track, is this a song about the first time that this person has ever been out of their house? And if so, is this scenario that they're describing a post-apocalyptic world, which is why this person's never been out before? Is it just Detroit and it's like a latchkey shut-in kid? Or is the narrator like a horrific mutated monster, which is why he's never been let out of the house? Or am I just misinterpreting it and it's just a normal day going out into Detroit and he's been out of the house a million times before?
Well, I mean, the answer to your first question is no. He's only not been out of the house for the last 2 years.
Well, I just want to say, Bill, that your second question is still appropriate. And I'm so happy that you asked it. It warms my heart that we have the ability to ask such questions about this. But I think that the answer is revealed in the skit that precedes this track, where Will B. Scabs.
Willie B. Scabs.
Willie B. Rags.
Willie B.
Willie
Scabs.
B. Rags.
Willie B. Scabs. He says, pardon me, Violent J's gonna tell us a story, so sit down, shut the fuck up, and get stoned, motherfucker. Which I thought was really weird, because I don't feel like, I don't really recall that they advocate drug use often.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting. And so what it makes me think is that it's not meant to be taken literally, that it's like a story of a fantasy that he has, but that it didn't really happen to him.
That is very keen. That is exactly what my notes are about. Is like, one is this Violent J? And then I'm like, no, this is not Violent J. And one of the ways to begin with is, I said, it's weird to hear him talk about his dad being drunk and around and him not giving a fuck if his mom's there. And that's not Violent J. Violent J writes songs to his mom.
Yeah.
So they automatically let me know that this is just like an alternate story. I actually have in my notes that this is not a canon ICP story as far as the clowns. This is
it's not
story.
about Violent J.
Yeah, this is just a story. And then it makes sense. Now, some of the things that happen to the character happens to Violent J, like getting like blown up and all these like crazy things happening to him, and yet he still comes home, because this song cracks me up because he ends up still like having bread and he's just a head, you know, and I think that's funny. And you know, so there are aspects that Violent J used to describe himself in other stories and will do a lot more later on, but this is one of these rare examples that it's a song that's just a story that's completely outside the realm.
But what I do think is really great about it is the fantasy or story that it is. If you just take the story as being its own thing, like you're saying, Steve, it's a mixture of all of those things that you said, Bill. And that's what I think makes it great, is that it's not tangibly post-apocalyptic. It's not an exaggeration of a real bad neighborhood. It's like fantastic and all of those things. And it's presented in a really fun way. So I think that's to me the most compelling thing about the song, is that it's like positive and he's cool and doesn't give a fuck, but there's like a gnarly crazy scenario, like he lives in a really bad place but he's like cool with it, you know, just like, well, what am I gonna do? I'm a fucking head rolling down the street.
Yeah, the crackheads are in trees like ninjas and they hit him in the brick, and that's where it all starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, it is an amalgamation of all those things, but if it's a person who is stoned, or if it's a person who is an addict, or if it's a person who is just delirious from lack of sleep and food, this could also just be what Detroit looks like to them.
Sure.
The world of Detroit that Insane Clown Posse understands and grew up with, like, this might be what that looks like to a child who has been locked up for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing on my notes does notate, though, even though he hasn't left the house in 2 years, he still ends up walking around with his nuts out.
Yeah, he probably doesn't have pants.
He's poor, that's right, I'm sorry.
How dare you. You see people walking around with their nuts out every day.
Speaking of nuts out, how about that voice of that dead body?
Oh, yeah.
What's happening with
good.
that guy, man? It made me think of, I just saw It. I don't know if you guys saw It.
Yeah, the Pennywise voice?
Well, no, the leper. The leper ghoul that attacks the kid. I pictured that guy's face, you know, and it's all soupy and squishy.
No, that's good.
I think this song is rad.
I think that there's a lot of very clever little things that are happening in here. And I think the most clever thing that happens is when he gets hit with a rock, he's knocked out for so long that his clothes go out of style while he's unconscious.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that that's a great little touch.
For sure, man. One of the things I also really love about the song is the beat, like the music. It's a real like funky, guitar thing, and the like in there.
Yes. We've seen sprinklings of it throughout, but obviously when we get to Riddlebox and Great Malenko and beyond, the little sound effects really like just finally shine and get just glorious and wonderful. But this is, Steve already talked about it, but this is my favorite portion here. I gotta say, I made it home in a heartbeat. Nobody fucks with a head rolling down the street. Now I think about it, was a full man when leaving out. Now I'm a head with a loaf of bread in my mouth, bouncing up the stairs. I knock on the door with my chin. I just, he's Violent J is never better than when he has to write about being blown up or dismembered and still being alive. Like, I think that's really Violent J's muse is, like, what if I was just a head? What if I was just lungs? Like, that's when he really, like, just cracks open his brain and is like, yeah, I would do this and I would do that. Because, like, so many people fucked with him when he was going to the store, but now that he's just a head with a loaf of bread in his mouth rolling around on the street, nobody's gonna think twice about it.
And then doesn't he have to go back out and get the milk?
Right.
Yes.
The visual's brilliant.
It is.
Well, I was gonna say, I think Out is a tremendous song. So this is one of the better songs, I think, or maybe even the best song for me on the album, because I put Dead Body Man on Riddlebox. But then the skit right after it, and I had meant to mention, I don't remember which song it's between, but ahead of this on the record, the skit's like really brutal. Whoever the passengers are in there are like in agony and suffering, and Willoughby Scabs is like having a good time at their expense. But then in this skit, he's having sex with a woman, and it's like, it's pretty raunchy.
Yeah. It's definitely the word for it.
Like a different tone, you know? They just go from, you know, something that's like, well, and it's we got a little palate cleanser with Out, I guess, is being a little bit lighthearted before we move into I Stuck Her With My Wang.
Yeah, isn't that the skit that goes into I Stuck Her With My Wang?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that the next song?
It's Sensual Love Making, and then I Stuck Her With My Wang.
She told me that she loved me, then commenced on the suck it. I tried to hold her back, but I nutted in the ear when I dried up. The bitch couldn't hear. I stuck her with my wang.
So, I Stuck Her With My Wang. My first note was in relation to the earliest lyrics about elbowing women in the face. My first note is, I thought we were going to be mostly done with this.
There's a couple of very problematic lines. I mean, he says I'll blacken her eyes or whatever. Yeah, he says that line. He says,
I think honestly, of all of the 6 songs on the Terror Wheel, I Stuck Her With My Wang probably has the best chorus.
Yeah, man, the chorus is good. Especially when it gets to the end of the song where they're doing back and forth between I kicked him in his ass and stuck her with my wang. That's some good times.
Yeah, like if we can't allow ourselves to find the humor in a song that is called I Stuck Her With My Wang, what are we even doing here? But there's a line, one of my very most important notes of the entire Terror Wheel EP. There's a line about fucking a woman chicken style, and
I hit it chicken style.
What?
She called me Bob Vila when I stuck her into place.
My note here is, what is chicken style?
Breaded?
Oh. So he dredges his wiener in a mixture of cornmeal and eggs.
He mentions multiple times covering women in some sticky substance. He ejaculates in a lady's ear and then she goes deaf. He puts glue on a woman's breast and sticks her to the ceiling. I assume consensually. And when he gets back, her boobs are all stretched out. Mm-hmm. Come on, man.
Well, if you can think of a better way to make long boobs, I'd like to hear it.
Okay. One thing I love is that I think this is one thing that he does really well is this is Shaggy. This whole song is all Shaggy. He does a really good mixture of being ridiculous and obviously being funny and trying to say funny shit, and then also throwing in some like cool lines. Actually, my favorite line in the song is he says, "I hit it slow motion. I had the ringmaster brew me up a love potion," and it's like that's fucking cool, man. That makes me think like I picture him driving this big like Malibu convertible, you know, slow motion by the beach.
Steve, I want to know what you thought about sticking her with your wang.
So, I think I've made this point earlier in some episodes. I'm not a fan of sex songs.
Mm-hmm. Unless
so I don't like this song.
Well, that's like
No,
20% of the
that
songs that we have to talk about.
Well, that's
moving
why
forward.
I'm not a big Shaggy Tudo fan, because most of the songs, I mean, there's so many ICP songs I just skip. I don't like songs. Like I said, when I was in 5th or 6th grade and I was listening to Two Live Crew, it was hilarious. And that's pretty much when it stopped, after I got tired of that tape. And so...
Because Steve was doing it in 4th grade.
Bam! So, yeah. You know, it's not that. I don't know. I just don't really like songs like that. They're not funny to me. I don't know, they're just kind of boring and stupid. And so I listened to this song a couple times. I regretted it because it's stuck in my craw. It's just like I wake up and I stuck her with my Wang, and I'm peeing, and I'm taking a shower, and I either got the fog is coming. I stuck her with my Wang. Thoughts of a clown. You know, like it's just a thing. And so, yeah, I'm just not a fan of the song. Fun stuff, somewhat, but it's got awful things like you guys already pointed out, with more black in the eyes, and I don't know. A lot of the times, and this might be just me projecting, a lot of these sex songs always sound kind of rapey to me too. So I'm just not a fan. So I generally try to skip.
Well, Ryan and
no offense to anybody.
No,
the last
trying to
note
take away from their genius. It's just not my.
My last note for this song is that in this song, Shaggy and Jay go on the record as being opposed to what is colloquially known as the Devil's Threesome, which is 2 men and a woman. But
Shaggy's talking to the lady, and he says, "Bring a friend over, and we'll have some fun."
Yeah, and she brings a fella.
Well, she brings a guy, Frank, who I assume is Frank Stallone.
It's definitely Frank Stallone. But my question for you guys is, like, there's no way that Jay and Shaggy haven't engaged in this practice in real life, right?
Are you kidding me? I mean, that's part of, like, that's how Violent J dies at the end of The Great Malenko. They're going over to fuck some rich chick because her dad's gone. He has a line in one song, I cannot remember what it is, where they talk about sharing each other's dicks. Like, yes, they bang chicks together. No judgment on that. And maybe it's just part of the joke. Maybe they really don't, and it's just character.
Well, maybe at this point they hadn't experienced the pleasure of each other, and then worlds were open to them after, Malenko and Riddlebox came out, and they were big stars.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And they were on a bus sharing a dick.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no shame in the love that Violent J and Shaggy Two Dope have for each other, and none of us should be ashamed of it either.
Much motherfucking clown love.
So at the end of this song, I feel like there's a little bit of a Chet speech to make a From Dusk Till Dawn reference, where Shaggy or is it Violent J, just names all of the different types of ladies that they're down to fuck.
Yeah.
And basically just going down a list of how they're very indiscriminate, basically.
They want any women listening to this song to imagine it could be them that are being stuck with the Wang. This could be you getting glued to the ceiling.
Well, if there's something that talking about having indiscriminate sex makes me think about, it's my childhood relationships with opposite gendered individuals, which is my attempt at a segue into talking about Amy's in the Attic.
Yeah.
The sample on this song is from a Disney film called The Black Hole from 1979. Has nothing to do with the lyrical content of this song.
I had no idea.
Yeah, because to me, the lyrical content of this song most closely resembles Poltergeist.
Sure.
Because I mean, what I take from the song, and I could be horribly incorrect here, is that it's, some sort of haunting of a deceased child or otherwise malevolent spirit named Amy that's in the attic that they're terrorized by and afraid of. But I could be wrong, as I said.
Yeah, doesn't it end up, like, I started I had a hard time listening to this song. I didn't pull up the lyrics, and I couldn't understand half the things he said. But I thought, like, at first, you know, there was this poltergeist thing going on, but at the end, isn't it just like he's crazy and there's nothing?
I think
Wasn't
we're
that
not.
what
I think we're not
happens?
sure. I don't think that we know. And I think it's
Or,
it's
okay.
certainly unclear to me.
Okay. Should we know this?
So I think here's how the story unfolds.
Should we pause it and listen
Well,
to
no.
it?
So here's how the story unfolds.
Absolutely not.
This is like a character, maybe Violent J, is thinking about, or he's thinking back when he's young, and he's his best friend is a girl, and they're playing on the playground, and she hits her head on the slide or something like that, and dies. And he's like, oh shit, like, I don't know what to do. I don't want, I guess, like, he doesn't want to get in trouble. So he takes her up to the attic to try to, like, figure out what to do. And from there, decides that, well, it's actually okay, everything's fine, you know? Which made me think about, on the next record, they talk about how his girlfriend is dead, and his friends are, like, making fun of him for it, and he's like, oh, she's still fresh. She's still fun to be around. Yeah. You're racist against dead people. And so I think so that's what made me think he's, like, actually hanging out with this dead girl. You know, it's like, she's still my best friend, you know? Still be nice to her.
Yeah.
But then he starts,
Yeah.
but then it gets, like, more
Does he stick her with his
supernatural. Well, no, he's a child. It gets a little bit more supernatural, and then he starts to think, like, well, maybe there's no body or whatever. Did it really happen? What's going on? And then it ends with, like, he's getting blood, actual blood, he's saying, is dripping through the ceiling as though there was a body, but she's, like, crawling through the walls and making noises all around the house. And that's just how it ends. I also really dig the production value of this song. I think it's got some really good organ sounds in the music. The other thing that I wrote is that I feel like this is probably, it's a shame that you haven't read the lyrics, Steve, because I feel like this is probably the best written thing that Violent J has put out. In terms of, like, having a variety of things to say. Like, there's a lot of opportunity for him to do things that he did in previous records, where saying it was like a gentle breeze and a gentle night or whatever. But he actually does pretty well at, like, breaking it up and having, like, more interesting ways to describe things. I think it's the best thing that he's written so far.
Yeah, the note I have is that this song is kind of great, and that Jay's flow is tremendous at times. The other note I have is I like it. I think it's strong. And as Steve said, it's a little bit hard to puzzle out, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I think for me, the song just kind of reminded me of, like, Underneath the Moon. Like, it had, for some reason, that's on Great Malenko, and I just don't like the sound of that song. And this song, for some reason, just has that feel. I don't know. I thought you would, like, love this song. Like, it seemed like it would be right up your alley, but I'm wrong. Yeah, you don't know me. Good Lord, that hurts. Now, I was with Ryan, by the way. Out was my favorite song on this.
Okay. So while we're saying that, and if we don't have anything further to say about Amy's in the Attic, I thought what we should do really quick is we should definitely, going forward, once we've finished a specific EP or album, we should each name our favorite track off the album. So let's do a quick, brief recap, and if you guys need to take time to pull this stuff up, favorite song off of Carnival of Carnage, everyone.
Psychopathic.
Never Had It Made.
Yeah, mine has also never had it made, and my second place would be Juggla. Beverly Kills.
It's definitely in the ha for me. That song fucking rules.
No, it is the Stalker. I apologize. Now that you said all the titles, it is the Stalker. I'm an idiot. Good Lord.
Damn, that sounds fucking scary, man.
It is scary. I think it might be on Beverly Kills for me. This one's a tough one. It might be 17 Dead, but it also might be Beverly Kills, or it might be In the Ha, or it might be Chop Chop. Like, it's that one I can't call. But Ringmaster.
Well, I mean, I'm looking, and I really love Southwest song.
Mm-hmm. For me,
Vertigo Round's really good, but yeah, Southwest song. Sorry.
For me on Ringmaster, it would be a tie between Wagon the Loons and the Dead One. But surprisingly, something I never thought would happen. Mr. Johnson's head is way up there.
Awesome.
And
It's a good song.
the really amazing original version of Chicken Huntin', where it's just so smooth. It's a good album, guys. It's a good album.
It's a good album.
A good album.
Yeah.
And on this album, you guys both say "Out" is your favorite song on the Terror Wheel.
Yeah, for sure.
I think for me it's Dead Body Man, but I would need to listen to it more. I got caught up and didn't get to listen to this album nearly as much as you guys did. But I mean, I definitely like "Out," but I like Dead Body Man more. But as Ryan pointed out, it is also on Riddlebox, so it sort of just gets disqualified from this album. So
yeah,
I have some terrible news, guys. As it turns out, there was another release between this and Riddlebox.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, no, it's not awesome, Ryan, because it's Shaggy 2 Dope's first EP, Fuck Off.
Okay. So we're going to do it like this.
When it was originally released, it had 2 tracks on it, but the re-released version has 4 tracks. So
let's do it.
I think that's what we have to do next week.
Let's do it.
As we talk about Shaggy 2 Dope and his first ever album, Fuck Off, which is on Spotify with all 4 tracks. It is the tracks Fuck Off, Clown Love, I'm Not Alone, and 3 Rings. And you'll know the album because it's a horrible drawing of Shaggy 2 Dope grabbing his nuts and putting a middle finger in your face.
Horrible in a good way.
You can't miss it. Yeah. Guys, last thoughts?
I feel like Terror Wheel's a real strong record, man. And I think it's leading perfectly into Riddlebox, which I'm super looking forward to, but I guess we'll get there in a couple weeks.
You sure will. Steve?
Yeah, it's good. It's real good. Even with the stuff I don't like, it's good.
And it's only 6 tracks, so imagine when we get to the full album, the next time we get to a full Joker's card, it's going to be their debut on Jive. It's going to have production value. This is going to be great. But that's in a couple weeks. Next week is Fuck Off. As always, check out Dim Carnival on Twitter and Instagram. Ryan, I gotta say, I gotta give massive props to Ryan. Ryan has been murdering it on Instagram. Like, I absolutely love what he's been doing with the account at Dim Carnival on Instagram. Check it out. Give us a follow. Toss us some likes. And that's also where you'll find a lot of supplementary material that we talk about here. Maybe Ryan will find perhaps an image of a man turned inside out for Screamers.
Making a note of that.
As long as he remembers not to cut that part out of this episode, he's editing it so that people aren't just like, what the fuck's this inside out guy doing on here? But I believe it's dimcarnival@gmail.com, correct, Ryan?
You got it, man.
And on Twitter, dimcarnival, dimcarnival.podbean.com. And follow, rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. It helps us out a lot if you toss us a little love, a little mention. Thanks to Uprocks for writing about our dumb little podcast.
You know that article also got posted on Fago Lovers.
Oh, shit. Well, hello to Juggalos. If you're still with us at this point, hello. And thanks to you, the listener, and thanks to my brothers in arms here, much clown love. We are, at least 2 of us are going to go see ICP in March, and it's going to be exciting.
Hell yeah.
So until next time, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And we're the Dim Carnival.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of notes for the song. I mean, I agree. I'm not a big fan of the song personally. You can cut a lot of that out, please. But I am very distracted.
That's great. I'm sorry. Now,
there's like no reason to have anything that was said in that entire segment. So you can cut all the way to where I said cut that out and then start now, but not now. Start now.
All right, ready? Hey, everyone shut up. All right.